Thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the technology-enabled learning, the TEL. Ladies, I've just talked a lot about the, principles or items that underscore the importance that is attached to the knowledge that the learner brings when they come to school or when we come and meet them to try and teach them. We need to appreciate, as I said earlier, that knowledge that they bring to the class. Now, here I'm bringing in the technology-enabled learning. Blended learning can be defined as the organic integration of thoughtfully selected and complementing face-to-face and online approaches and technology. It is a way of creating new ways for teachers and students to engage, interact, and collaborate. Futurists and commentators in the technology-enabled learning space argue that teachers, which is us in this context, which is our tutors, need to significantly adjust and generate a need for aspects of teaching presence required for deep, meaningful learning. In an effort to realize deep and meaningful learning, Bow subscribes to integration of technology in the classroom activities in order to transform teaching and learning. I want to believe you colleagues here would agree with me that the wheel is already rolling in this aspect. Teachers play an indispensable role in leveraging the powerful potential of technology in classroom. Not students, teachers. We stimulate them, and the process of stimulation on technology, related aspect helps students to respond, particularly as they respond to the learning needs of the students and how these needs can be approached through instructional activities. This brings me to what we call TPACK. What is TPACK? In program development, Boo appropriately embraces a framework known as technological, pedagogical, content, and knowledge. TPACK integrates technology within teaching and learning. The three pillars or the three pillar bodies of knowledge: technology, technological knowledge, content knowledge, and pedagogical knowledge inform the design of this theoretical framework. TPACK describes the type of teacher knowledge required to teach effectively with technology. What are the teacher knowledge that are required to teach effectively with technology? The complex ways in which these bodies of knowledge interact with one another. It describes what teachers need to know can be difficult. Describing what teachers need to know can be difficult because teaching is an inherently complex, multifaceted activities which occur in varied settings. That says pedagogy content knowledge remains ineffective when considered in isolation. This is the framework I'm talking about, and if you look at it, you will see the TK there standing for technological knowledge, which is the area that I'm saying we should be seen in command of executing, in command with this area and executing most of our operations through it. We have the content knowledge, which I want to believe all of us here, colleagues, we are experts on that. We have pedagogical knowledge, which also I want to believe all of us here, we are experts on that. But there is a new one, the technological knowledge, which we are to some extent, still, trying to find our way in which we can live with this aspect. Now, there's something again that we need to see here that is even making things more complex. The intersections of these three areas. You might be having content and pedagogical knowledge. How do you bring the two together? And then bring the third one, which is technological knowledge, into them, so that you end up with what we call the TPACK. Note, the TPACK does not only that bring the three, it also brings in the aspect of, say, you have the technological and the pedagogical knowledge, but you don't have the content. How do you help yourself here? You might also have the pedagogical content. You can also have the pedagogical and the content knowledge, which is usually common with most of us, but lacking the technological content. You might have the technological and the content knowledge, and you lack the pedagogy. So how do we bring them together? It is very important to know how we bring these areas together. Technological knowledge, what do I mean? TK includes an understanding of how to use computers, software, and hardware, presentation tools such as document presenters and projects, and other technologies used in educational context. Most importantly, TK covers the ability to adapt to and learn new technologies. It is important to know that TK exists in a state of flux due to the rapid rate of change in technology. That is what Mishra and Kwela and Kerelwick in 2009 said. And due to the protein nature of technology, for instance, modern computer hardware and software become quickly obsolete, and computers can be used for a variety of pedagogical tasks such as research, communication, and media consumption and creation. On the other hand, content knowledge refers to the knowledge or specific nature of a discipline or subject matter. CK, as they call it, varies greatly between different educational contexts, e.g., the difference between the content of primary school math and the graduate school math. And teachers are expected to master the content they teach. Content knowledge is also important because it determines the discipline-specific modes of thinking unique to each field. Then we have the pedagogical content, or PK. PK describes the general purpose knowledge unique to teaching. It is the set of skills that teachers must develop in order to manage and organize teaching and learning activities for intended learning outcomes. This knowledge involves, but is not limited to, an understanding of classroom management activities, the role of student motivation, lesson planning, and assessment of learning. PK may also describe knowledge of different teaching methods, such as knowing how to organize activities in a way conducive to students, constructive building of knowledge. Then we have the pedagogical content again, PCK. Now you can see I'm trying to bring these two together, pedagogical knowledge and content knowledge. Now PCK reflects, according to Schumann, assertion that effective teaching requires more than separate understanding of content and pedagogy. PCK also acknowledges the fact that different content lends itself to different methods of teaching. For example, the teaching of speaking skills for a foreign language teacher requires student-centered activity where students engage in meaningful and authentic communication tasks. Contrast this to a graduate level appreciation seminar where teacher-centered lecture may be an appropriate way for the professor to describe and model ways of engaging with art. In this sense, PCK means going beyond being a content expert or just knowing general pedagogical guidelines to understanding the unique interplay between content and pedagogy. Now I will take you again to technology content. We are talking about pedagogical content knowledge. Now we are talking about technological content knowledge. TCK describes knowledge of the reciprocal relationship between technology and content. Technology impacts what we know and introduces new affordance as to how we can represent certain content in new ways that was not possible before. For example, today, students can learn about the relationship between geometric shapes and angles by touching and playing with these concepts on the screens of handheld portable devices. Similarly, visual or virtual programming software now allows even primary school students to pick up programming by designing and creating digital games. In addition, technology enables the discovery of new content and representation of content, such are the relationship between advent of carbon-14 dating for archaeology and the manner in which Google Trends can be used to predict the spread of the flu virus. That's scientific. Now, what about technological pedagogical knowledge? TPK identifies the reciprocal relationship between technology and pedagogy. This knowledge makes it possible to understand what technology can do for certain pedagogic goals and for teachers to select the most appropriate tool based on its appropriateness for the specific pedagogical approach. Technology can afford new methods and venues for teaching and ease the way certain classroom activities are implemented. For example, we talked about collaborative writing can take place with Google Docs or Google Hangouts instead of face-to-face meeting, extending collaborative activities over distance learning. I think with most of you, you are aware of the Google documents where we can open it and then we work, or as you work on it here, a colleague in Mau or Francistown is also able to work on it. The same that we can do with learners to say, okay, one learner in Mau can be answering this or doing this, and then we expect or we tell another learner to be doing something that on the same subject area will be working on. Also, the advent of online learning and more recently massively open online courses MOOCs require teachers to develop new pedagogical approaches that are appropriate for the tools at hand. TPACK now, when it brings all these areas I've been talking to, describe the synthesized knowledge of each of the bodies of knowledge and as described above, with a focus upon how technology can be uniquely crafted to meet pedagogical needs to teach certain content in specific context. Alone, each of the constituent bodies of knowledge that comprise TPACK represents a necessary and important aspect of teaching, but effective teaching is much more than each of the pieces, TK, PK, and CK. For the teacher with TPACK, knowledge of technology, pedagogy, and content is synthesized and put to use for the design of learning experience for students. Now, let me take a break again here, ladies and gentlemen, and then I will take you through an example of one of the lessons that I've developed, trying to bring on board this idea of TPACK.